This is good. Bam. 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 Du, du, du. Bam. That's ready to go. Hold on. I'm checking something. Du, 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 du. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I wanted to start and then I had to fix something. Okay. Waiting to get a response real quick before I continue. Okay. I need to get some eggs started. Or hatched, I think. Did I already start all the eggs? Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, yeah, I don't, do I have anything currently breeding right now is the question. The fuck is this from? Oh, yeah, I was doing shit over in the Fey break. Why are you always depressed? You are never fucking not depressed. Every time I come back, you're sad, and it's annoying. There you go. Feel better. Eat food. Is there some invisible stat that I'm not aware of that just makes a pal more likely to be depressed? Because I might just fucking grind that pal into oblivion and then get a new pal. Get a new fucking Yormantine. Just breed a shit ton of new Yormantines. Get one that doesn't have that fucking sadness trait. That is a lot of shit that I don't need. Whee! Okay. Bam, bam, bam. Give me a second. I will get the results either today or tomorrow. Or rather, today or Monday, because I wouldn't be getting results tomorrow. I'm booking movie tickets. Bam. Yeah, I mean, there's also the fact that they say that's how fast it's going to be, but I've had plenty of times when military medical has said, yeah, we'll get these results to you in this amount of time, and they either don't get me the results at all, and I have to call them to be like, hey, what the fuck are the results? And a lot of times when it's like I have to call them, it's like, oh, it's nothing, don't worry about it. But there's been a few times when it's like, yeah, you should probably get on some like antibiotics because you have a fucking prostate infection or something like that or whatever. And then there's other times when it's like, okay, they say a day or two and it's a week. Hold on. Let me double check to make sure I actually got the tickets. Yep. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I hope they do. I mean, it's at this point, I want to know why this keeps happening, why I keep getting stomach issues, and I want to have a resolution. So, at the very least, this will hopefully be, okay, there is an actual thing. And part of it's like the fear of the unknown, you know? Like, I don't know why I keep getting these stomach issues, and it could be a range of things. It could be just my GI system's fucked up. It could be something simple. It could be fucking colon cancer. I don't know. I just want to know. I want to be able to take the next steps, because this waiting game is fucking annoying. Moana 2. I like the original Moana, so we got tickets for Moana 2. There's nothing else really in theater, because we had other plans. What we were going to do was we were going to go to the Virginia Aquarium, because I really like the aquarium, but based off of when she gets off work and when she's going to be able to get off work and when the aquarium closes, because it closes at like 5, we're not going to be able to make it in time. Like, we might technically make it before 5, but we're not going to make it and have time to actually do anything, you know? Okay. I sit in the shark room for an hour when I go. Yeah, I love the I considered when I was in college, and I need to finish my degree. I took a break for health reasons, and then every time I get one of them under control, another one starts. But like my blood, it started when my blood pressure was really high, and it's just in a really bad mental place because a lot of bad things were happening. And I was like, I need to take a break. And to be fair, at the time I was taking like 18 credit hours a semester, so even my psych was like, you need to dial back. So for health reasons, I dialed back. And then it seems like every time I get one under control, another one pops up. And it's like, I don't want the fact that I am a kind of high-stress person to end up more negatively impacting my health. Because if my blood pressure gets higher, then I have to worry about fucking how that's affecting other stuff. I want to get fucking at least healthy, or at least know what's going on with my health. And then start back up, because I'm exhausted. But when I was doing college, I legitimately considered, like, I was considering getting a membership to the aquarium so that I could get in, because like you could get a membership where you can get in for free, I think, or for like really cheap, and just have days like, okay, this is my work on class day, work on projects day. Take my laptop to the aquarium and sit in the shark room or sit in one of the other big aquarium rooms. And just have headphones and work on work, because it's a very peaceful environment. And I thought that would be nice. Whenever I start back up again, I probably will. I also appreciate that the aquarium just has a fucking Komodo dragon. Like, that is not an aquatic animal. But they have a Komodo dragon. They have 2 of them. Or is it a Gila lizard? A Gila monster? I think it's a Komodo dragon, though. My first go at college was in biology, so I could work at an aquarium. Oh, the lizards are so cool. I have the class and all the stuff necessary to have my scientific diving certification. I just need to do the checkout dives and stuff in order to get it. Because I would not mind working in the as a diver at the aquarium. That would be nice. I like fish. I like water. Once I get some of this done real quick, I'll start with, and I get the response. On. Do let's get these and see. I'm going to start on some dating horror stories and just funny dating stories today, because I think it's appropriate. Ooh, there you go. There's a perfect Yormantide. If my parents weren't so gendered in interests, like, look, I'd know way more about dinosaurs and sharks because I've always been infatuated with them. Yeah, here's the kind of funny thing that I realized the other day. So because of, I was watching a video and it was talking about like how so many cartoons of like our generation had like the dumb boy with the intelligent girl kind of archetype going on. That was like the dynamic in so many cartoons from our generation. That when I was growing up, like I know the general like misogynistic stereotype is, oh yeah, men are smarter than women and blah blah blah. I never had that, and like men are more capable than women, and men have to solve women's problems. That's like the misogynistic, social stereotype. I never had that, and I think part of it was because of like cartoons and stuff, and just because of the way I grew up, and like my dad was constantly deployed, so I was largely like raised by my mother. In my mind, it was always, yeah, guys are dumb and stupid and cause problems, and women are the intelligent ones that need to fix our problems and are more intelligent and succeed more. That was the stereotype that was in my head because of that. So, like, I never kind of got that level of misogyny where women are dumb. Like, no, I always thought women were smarter and more artistic and more capable than men in those ways, and men were just meant to be, strong and do shit. So yeah. And I think a large part of that was just because of the cartoons that I grew up with and the fact that, and a large part I was raised by my mom. Like, my dad was in the picture. He was just deployed a lot. Your mom was the worst offender. Oddly enough, my girlfriend talks about it sometimes, but her mom was the worst offender too, but in kind of the opposite way, where her mom had 4 daughters. Her mom had a lot of daughters and did not want any of her daughters to have feminine traits at all. Wanted them to be incredibly masculine. Being feminine at all was punished in my girlfriend's mom's household. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be like, hey, I want to make sure my kid is doing well in school and taking opportunities to advance their life and learn new skills and stuff like that. But when it comes to like what your child's desires are, let them be their own person. Now, I get it. There is a level of like, hey, if your child is saying, I want to be a bum and do nothing, maybe you need to impose a little bit more will on them. But ultimately, let your child develop into the person they want to be. When it comes to their likes and interests, don't try to force them to like your things. Introduce them to stuff, but don't try to force them to participate if they don't want to. Especially because just from a practical standpoint, like say you want your child to be into sports. And so you put them on a football team when they're really young. And you're super gung-ho and pushy about putting them on a football team. They might have naturally liked football, but because of the fact that you are pushing them to do it, because of the fact that you are trying to compel them to participate in this thing and being really gung-ho and pushy about it, they might grow to resent football, not because they don't enjoy it, but because the attitude that you have around it. So let them introduce them to stuff, but let them decide whether or not they like it on their own and don't push. Hold on, I need to figure out which one of these was the perfect one. This one. Oh, and it's an alpha. Fuck yeah. Do I have one that I can trade in for to make it? This one. I can burn this one to make it better. Awesome. I also need to go through Orcirk and Jetragon. Did I get a Orcirk that I like? This one's good. But still has Sickly, which is not great. But stamina doesn't really matter. I'm not going to be riding it. This one's also good. So it might be Musclehead, Burly Body, Demon God. This one also has Ferocious on it. They're both male. This one also has 3 of the traits that I want, but is also male. Need to put Burly Body on that. Okay, so I didn't get an Orcirk that I like. But I can breed it with this one. I just need a female with Burly Body. There you go. Demon God, Burly Body. Let's hold on, see. Demon God Ferocious. Demon God Musclehead Ferocious. Where's the one with Demon God Burly Body? Demon God Burly Body. Now let me check. I know I saw a perfect Frostallion here somewhere. Has all the traits that I want. Legendary. There you go. There it is. Do I have one that's high stars? I should. How do I not... Is it one of these two? Nope. How do I not have a high star pal? Did I just fucking grind them all down and not actually condense them? Gonna keep streaming, but gotta do some shit. Okay. That one has infinite stamina, so might be useful for breeding. Nimble Runner. Infinite stamina. I have so many that have Runner on it. Runner, Legend, Nimble, almost perfect. In this case, I just need to breed infinite stamina onto it. Female, male. Okay, that works. I have one that just has infinite stamina. And also favorite this guy. Legend Nimble Runner. Let me quick see if I can find one with... Did I sort by dragon? I did. Okay, cool. Okay, I have two males that have infinite stamina. If I want to do it, then okay. Clear that. Bam. Palpedia number. I have a female with Runner Nimble Legend. Bam. Put those together. Get rid of these two because they don't matter anymore. Bam, bam. Bam, bam. I don't even need the other one to be used right now, or at least I don't think I do. Might be fucking wrong. Although I should probably get the stuff for Prostallion. I'm going to get 42 plus 108. That is... Oh my god, 150. That's such a simple math to do. Okay. So I know it's going to have excess, but I can also just grind out some Pal Souls by having extra Frostallions. Male, female, get your breeding. Bam. Three. Wait, nope. Nope. Fuck. I wasn't paying attention. Okay. I forgot it's ordered in a way that's not what I always think it is. Okay. Now let's go to the other side. Bam. Over here. Bam. I will be starting on some dating stories soon. I want to see if my friend Stack is available. Because one of them involves him. If not, I'll have to get started without him and just tell that story, and he'll have to deal with it and not be able to give his justification, because Stack ruined a date for me. Oh yeah, this is the one I wanted to save. Bam. Oh shit, I never put the pals back. Fuck. Oh well, there's plenty of food in there. I'm not going to need more of any of that for such a long time. It can stay like that. I forgot I took the pals out because I was trying to take a screenshot and they kept causing problems. There you go. Are you guys going to go to the right one? Yep, you are. Awesome. Fuck. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna finish this steak real quick. Why are you all starving and depressed? Why are you all always starving and depressed? There's so much food available for you. Oh god. Hard to swallow. What? Oop. Excuse me. Okay. I don't know why I still have the Lisby staff. I don't care about that at all. Jesus Christ, what? How are you not finishing? Okay, let me go grab some more berries from the other fucking thing. Bam, because they have so many berries, and yet you guys somehow always manage to not have enough. Working a little slow, probably a slacker. His job is breeding right now. Bruh. Wild. Oh, God, my tummy. Okay, you don't, let's see. Yep, you're depressed. Take this. I don't know how they're not producing enough food to not be depressed, ever. Do I need to just up their berry production? Like, focus entirely on berries because they grow faster? Here, let me give them some... I don't have any fries ready for them. I have my fries, so I'm not giving them my fries because I keep almost starving to death when I don't think about it. At this point, I could just kind of randomly pick them and give them it, because they probably all are depressed. Come here. Take some drugs. Stop being sad. No, you come back here, you piece of shit. I even have them in, like, relaxed work mode. Honestly, that might be why they're not producing food fast enough. Because I put them in relaxed work mode to deal with the fact that they were constantly depressed, and... Get your ass up, come take your medicine. I can't give you your anti-depression medicine if you're constantly fucking sleeping. This one. Okay. There needs to be a more efficient way to... Work mode, normal work mode. There you go. Make your food so you don't starve, so you don't get depressed. For the love of God. No, you piece of shit, get back here. Here, come here. Take the drug. Just, you're right there. Take the damn thing. Ugh. You look sad. Take some drugs. This one's for a fracture? Yeah. You only have a fracture. There you go. Drugs. I hate the fact that they just bundle fucking up like this, too. Like, holy shit. It makes it really hard to treat them, and I don't want to do the thing of put them in my party, put them out of my party. It's annoying. There needs to be a better way. Okay, details. What about you? Details. Especially because they're constantly moving back and forth, so half the time you're like, okay, I think I got the right one. I end up wasting it on the wrong one. I'm just gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to do it the way I fucking hate. I'm gonna have to do it the way I goddamn hate, and I'm pissed off. Here. Don't go to do fucking work. You stay right fucking here. Take your medicine. Now I'm gonna put you back to work. Who's left? You're still depressed because you just go straight to bed and I can't do shit about that? There you go. Drugs. I think the fact that I had them on relaxed work mode was actually doing more damage. Because they weren't producing food fast enough. So they weren't producing food fast enough because they were on relaxed work mode. And that was leading to them starving, which was leading to them being depressed. Because the logic in this game doesn't always logic. Hey, man, be happy you can't relate. Focus on you, man. Just focus on you. That's all you gotta do. Okay. Weekend. Feed you this. Bam, you're depressed. Come here. Just fucking come here. Don't fight this. Take your medicine. And finally you. Okay. Bam, there you go. Finally got it. Now to grind down some more fucking Frostallions to make this guy uber good. Bam. Now I can start power level. Did I end up getting a perfect Frostallion? I don't think I did. But I think if I just use these guys, I'll manage to fuck up. Because this one's perfect, perfect, perfect. And I think Warsect was the one I wanted for grass type, for perfect grass type. Yeah, it was Warsect. Perfect grass, perfect earth, perfect dragon, and perfect fire. Or not perfect dragon, but perfect fire, and the second place for perfect dragon. And then perfect dark type, but you're not leveled enough. I'm not going to bother trying to catch more jet dragons, because I have everything I need for that, so I'm just going to fucking kill them. Yep. Bullbling my shift is 10:45, it's at 1 p.m. I've been up since 9, I'm so fucking pissed. Fantastic. I'm getting ready to start on some dating horror stories. I was waiting to see if Stack was going to be able to get in here, because one of them is notionally related to him. But if you'd like to share some stories that I won't have to censor, so that I will just be able to, like, cut out the blank pots and post it as a rant today for Valentine's Day, that'd be great. War Dog. Paul. I have definitely been there though before, where like I woke up a lot earlier than I needed to because I thought I needed to be there earlier, both in and out of the military. In the military, at one point, I was working basically swing shifts that would alternate back and forth sometimes. So I'd wake up like, oh, today's my this swing shift. I show up to work and it's like blah blah. And at this point, it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna stay at work. And then when I was like working at a gas station, that would happen sometimes. And sometimes it's just because they changed the shifts without telling me. Or they changed the shifts overnight and texted me. But I woke up ready to go. Okay. So right now, I'm just going to be fucking power leveling my Frostallion a little bit. I need to get an Oma Skull. That's why I need to grab my Oma Skull. Because then he'll gain more experience faster. And I guess if I'm going to use my Oma Skull, I might as well replace one of these guys with Frostallion. Yeah, you're my perfect Oma Skull. I'm going to grab you, and then I'm going to replace, like, Anubis with Frostallion. I do need to catch a fucking, no, not you. I need one that has high level. There you go. What's Clumsy do? Clumsy's just bad work speed. Okay, cool. I don't give a fuck about Xenoguard. A hyperfixation, a bank account, and a chauffeur. I mean, if you want to come on and share like a kind of brief version of it, you're welcome to. Just again, I want to keep everything like... I don't want to have to spend time censoring this because it's literally going to be me. I'm going to pick up Dez. I'm leaving to pick up Dez at 3. I don't want to have to spend a lot of... I want to be able to get this out before I go do that. I don't want to have to spend a lot of time censoring shit. Or cutting shit out. I want it to be basically, okay, I'm going to press a button to leave a marker when it's going to be whatever. When it's going to be like a blank spot. And then be able to just cut between blank spots and post the video. But on that note, it is Valentine's Day. So for Valentine's Day, I thought it would be fun to share some of our funny dating stories, our dating horror stories. Just you know, our experiences going on dates, like first dates or relationship stuff that are kind of funny that people might be able to relate to or get a kick out of. And if you would like to share your stories in chat or in the comments, if you share it in chat and it's not insane, I will I'll read it out here. And if you share it in the comments, I might do a video in the future that's me reading your dating horror stories if I think they're funny and if there's enough of them. So feel free to share it in the comments. Feel free to share it in chat. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, I'm going to start with one of the ones I was hoping to have my buddy Stack on today. He said he might be able to get on, but he hasn't replied to me yet, and I do have plans today, so I can't wait. That kind of involves my buddy Stack. This was when I was in A school. A school is the school you go to right out of boot camp. It's your job training school for the Navy. I completely missed the direction I was supposed to be going to kill the jet dragon, but it's your job training school in the Navy. And where I was going to A school, I was in the Navy, but there was also a Marine school there too. So we had a lot of fresh out of boot camp Marines there. And I'd been hanging out, like, you hang out on the smoke deck a lot of times. Even if you're not a smoker, it's kind of, if you're on duty or you don't have off-base liberty yet or there's nothing really else to do, a lot of times you just kind of go and you hang out on the smoke deck. So I'd been hanging out on the smoke deck for a while, and there's this one girl that kept showing up, this really, really, like, attractive Marine girl that, like, we started talking, and it was nice, and it was sweet, and I got her number, and we were texting each other a lot. And the Marines got their off-base liberty a lot later than we did. So when they finally got their off-base liberty, we arranged to have a date. We were gonna, you know, take a cab, we were gonna go get dinner and a movie and blah, blah, blah. We were gonna go on a nice little date. Well, the day that we were supposed to go on our date, I get out of class. I get out of class a little bit earlier than she did. I'm hanging out on the smoke deck because we're going to meet up. She comes out of the Marines. We see the Marines marching by, and I'm talking to, all my buddies on the smoke deck. Like, yeah, I got this date with this hot Marine girl. It's going to be great. I'm super looking forward to it. She's a sweetheart. It's going to be awesome. We see the Marines come walking by, or marching by. We see the Marines come marching by. Have their formation. The formation goes on for a little bit, and when they break formation, she sees me on the smoke deck. She comes walking by, and she looks kind of down. She's like, "Hey," and for some reason, I really was attracted to the fact that she would refer to me by my first name. She would call me Zach instead of my last name or a rank or anything like that. She would call me Zach, and for some reason that really attracted. She's like, "Hey Zach, I have some bad news." I'm like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" She's like, "So, some guy decided he thought it was really funny to douse his hand in Axe body spray and light it on fire and start knife handing the air in the middle of formation. So all the Marines lost their off-base liberty." I was like, "What the fuck?" She's like, "Yeah. Well, we don't have any off-base liberty, but we can go to we can't go on that date, but we can go to the Oasis, which is like the little MWR facility, and have a little date there or hang out there." I was like, "Yeah, sure, fine, whatever." We hang out a bit, but we don't actually end up going on this date, and our schedules kind of don't line up perfectly, so we end up not talking to each other as much or hanging out as much as we might have wanted to. But not long after that, we're still talking, we're still texting each other a lot. And this girl's like, I can't wait for you to finally get your off-base liberty again so we can actually go on a date and we can hang out. And she's like, "Yeah, me neither. And mind you, we're both 18 at this time." And this girl goes, "Yeah, I've just been waiting for so long for God to send me the person that he says I'm supposed to be with, that I'm supposed to live the rest of my life with. And, I'm just so excited that this might be that and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, oh, I'm 18, I'm dumb and stupid, but I got enough of the training, and I had my dad warn me, "Listen, don't get married straight out of fucking boot camp. Don't do that. And they warn you going out into A school and in boot camp, don't get married right away. It's a bad decision. It's really stupid." So I'm just like, oh, we haven't even gone on a real date yet, and this girl's already talking like this. So I'm like, shit, I might have dodged a bullet. And I started just using the fact that, our schedules didn't sync up to slowly just kind of ghost my way out of this and stop talking to her as much. And eventually, we just kind of stopped talking. Years later, I am talking to some friends. We're just in a Discord chat or a Zoom chat or whatever, just hanging out. And there's a buddy of mine that I had just kind of met, and he's in this chat. And we're just kind of recollecting some of our stories. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, "Yeah, I actually lost a date with this hot Marine chick because some jackass decided to set his hand on fire in the middle of formation and start knife-handing the air and thought it was just the funniest thing, and all the Marines lost their off-base liberty, so I actually lost a date because of him." And I didn't share the part where, it was a good idea because I ended up, dodging a bullet there. But he's like, "Were you in the Virginia Beach area?" Or he was asked, "Were you on Little Creek?" I was like, "No, I was on Dam Neck." He's like, "Was this in 2013? I was like, "Yeah, I was in 20. Why?" He's like, "I was that jackass Marine that thought it was funny to light my hand on fire and start knife handing me." Like, "You motherfucker, you lost me a date, you piece of shit, blah, 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 blah." He's like, whoa, I didn't know, blah, blah. And I ended up saying, "Hey, listen, man, it was probably a good thing." But for the next, we were both part of this group together that had this if you were a new member to the group, for the first 5 meetings of the group, you had to go to a rules meeting, a safety briefing at the beginning of it. And he was brand new to that group. That's how we met. So, and I helped lead those safety briefings. So for the next several events, every event that he was at that meeting, and then for the next several events that I led that meeting, anytime we were waiting for everyone to gather up for that safety briefing and to get it started, I'd be like, "Hey, real quick, this isn't necessarily related to this group, but I need you all to know something. I need you all to know a safety thing. Do not trust that man to wingman you. This man lost me a date, and I would share that story with them and just roast them for it. And I thought that was funny. That was like one of my kind of early like dating. Like, thank God I dodged that bullet things, but I always thought that one was funny.
Anyways, hi.
Hi. If it can only get worse, okay, it's your turn. Don't take it to, again, you keep it appropriate and keep it brief.
No. It's completely appropriate.
Okay.
So yeah, early on in the relationship, it was really great.
Okay.
Super lovey-dovey, spent a lot of time together. Obviously, whenever we could, we were still high school at the time.
Yeah.
Further on in the relationship, got a little dicey. We were pretty much constantly fighting. I had pretty low mental health at the time as well.
You needed to bust those stats up?
No, not really. Around the middle of our relationship, I was at actually my peak physical weight and fitness.
Okay.
It's kind of just low mental health, really, in general.
Yeah.
She didn't want to deal with it, so she decided to take the "we're going on a break" route.
Okay.
That should have been my first red flag, say get out of this relationship, but you know what? No. Rose-colored glasses. I stuck with it for some reason. Around the third year in our relationship, we were pushing 4 when we broke up. I went... Oh, okay. So let me go back to this. She treated me like a bank account.
Okay.
Because I had a job, for the most part, ending out high school.
Okay.
I worked a lot. Spent all my free time with her, pretty much spending all of my money on her.
Okay.
I was pretty much one of her only friends that had a car or was a decent driver.
Okay.
So she used me to get rides everywhere.
Okay.
To and from school, to her house, to dates.
Buddy, I'm going to need you to stop with these long pauses. I don't want to have to edit this out.
I'm sorry. I just woke up, okay? And, she asked me to go on a trip with her and her family to go pick up a car and also have the family trip. It was at a beach. We went, we had a little beach cabin that we rented. It was very nice. It was fun. Then we took her car back home. I was the one who drove it. Pretty much after that, she started spending a lot less time with me. The relationship just gradually just kept dropping and dropping and dropping.
Yeah.
Pretty much right after she got her car.
Okay.
She realized she didn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
Then I think we had one more like minor fight that like she decided, yeah, I'm doing it now. I'm gonna break up with him.
Okay.
Then like 2 months after that, she shot me a text message saying it was over. Nothing else to do with that relationship.
Yeah.
I could go into a lot more detail, but I don't want to think about it too hard right now.
Okay.
Just fair warning. If the relationship is really good in the start and it starts very gradually or like just tanks all of a sudden, get out of it.
I mean, I'll say, like, one, that high school relationship, and a high school relationship is always going to be kind of... I think it's important for people, like, I know people that are parents are like, oh, my child's not allowed to date until they're adults and blah, blah, blah. No, I think there's a good thing about dating when you are younger, dating like when you're in high school and whatnot, because you learn how to be in a relationship while you still have the safety net of your parents stopping you from making stupid decisions. So if you're 18 and you start dating someone and it's a super toxic relationship where they're a person that is not good to be in a relationship with, and you're 18, fully capable of making your own decisions, you might move in with them. You might let them control like your finances. You might like let them tell you don't get a job or only get a job that I want. Because I've known a number of women that have told me that their partners basically told them they are not allowed to get a job. If they want to be with them, they're not allowed to get a job. And they're in love enough and they're naive enough and whatnot that they think it's okay. He's going to take care of me. It's fine. But what that ends up being is now they are controlling your finances. You are financially dependent on them. You moved in with them. And if you don't have a strong support network that's able to get you out of that, you're kind of fucking stuck. You're just kind of stuck. And people want to blame them like, well, they shouldn't have made that decision. But we all make stupid decisions, especially when we're in love. But if you're, 16 and that's when you start dating, or 15 and that's when you start dating people your own fucking age, but that's when you start dating, you hopefully at the very least have parents that care and are going to stop you from making stupid decisions. So you're going to learn how to be in a relationship. You're going to learn to see those signs of a toxic relationship before you get into it. And you're going to have that safety net of if this relationship goes bad, hopefully in a lot of cases, the worst that might happen is the relationship goes bad and there's drama at school and whatnot. There are times where it gets a lot worse, but you at the very least have your parents as a safety net to fall back on. So I think, like, me and my high school girlfriend, we were just kind of toxic at each other. Like, admittedly, it was both of our first relationships. We didn't know how to be in relationships. So we were just kind of toxic at each other. And I'm fully willing to admit that. But every relationship I've learned from. So I'm happy that I was in that relationship in high school because I learned more about how to be in a relationship moving on. So I think that's just a common thing. I'll say it's not necessarily fair to say if there's a lull in the relationship or if the relationship kind of hits a dull point, ditch right away, because that just kind of happens sometimes. I know personally that I've had times when, like, I'm in a relationship, and like me and Dez, we've had times when we're in a relationship and in our relationship that it gets boring. And it doesn't get boring because we don't care about each other or love each other anymore. It's just like we both have shit going on in our lives that we can't really do much more than she comes home from work, we watch some shows together, we go to bed kind of thing. That's just a thing that happens. I think the big thing now, if you see major red flags, sometimes it's ditch right away, sometimes it's try to talk about it. That's kind of up to your own thing and up to what the red flags are. But there's a lot of stuff that you might just be able to like talk to them like, hey, I think we're in a lull, or hey, I don't like this behavior. And the immediate reaction shouldn't be cut and run. Because if the moment you're in a lull or like have something that you're unhappy about in a relationship, your response is to cut and run, you will never end up in a long-term relationship, because the likelihood of you finding a relationship that never has that is so astronomically low that you're gonna reflexively cut and run in every relationship I had. I had my most recent relationship before Dez was like a pretty good relationship. Like we were there were things that were wrong in it. There were things that were pretty happy about it, and things I could have done better and things that she could have done better. But like legitimately, one of the big things this woman told me that her biggest red flag with me was the fact that she did not have any red flags with me. That she did not see any red flags that were actually significant to her with me. So she was nervous and she was scared because she was worried that the relationship was going to get more and more serious, and that then all of a sudden some red flag was going to drop and she was going to be too invested in the relationship. So she had a fear of commitment based around the fact that she was not. I'd been in enough relationships. I knew to communicate. Like, I didn't freak out about stuff. I didn't get mad about stuff that upset me. I communicated it when something upset me, and I didn't react poorly to her communicating when something upset her. And she was worried that one day there was just going to be some shoe that dropped, that I was going to turn out to be a crazy person, but by then she'd be too invested in it. And what happened was, it was a few years ago. She came down because we were kind of distant at the time. We were spending like every weekend together, but we were like several hours away from each other. So we'd like spend every weekend, either I'd go up to her, she'd come down to me. And she came down for Valentine's for a week. She took some leave from work. She came down for Valentine's Day for a week, and we started talking about the possibility of her moving in with me. Once she left for Valentine's, and we had a great time that weekend or that week. Once she got home, she told me she needed to take a break, or she needed some space. And then after a few days of having some space, or like a week maybe or two of having some space, she said she didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. She didn't want to talk to me anymore. And what it came down to was effectively that, like, things were getting serious. And I was trying to let things move at her pace, but I was like letting her know basically like, hey, this is all going to move at your pace, but I'm comfortable with this next step whenever you're ready for it. And maybe I shouldn't have like communicated that, because maybe she felt like I was pressuring her into it when that wasn't my intention. I don't know. But what happened was, like, she was the one that actually originally kind of brought up that she was thinking about moving down here so that we could spend more time together. But like, apartments were expensive, and I said, well, I'm comfortable with the concept of you moving in with me. I think we've reached a stage where I'm comfortable with that. If you want to, no pressure. And then she started talking about, well, yeah, if I moved in with you, then we could do this and we could do that, but we'd have to do this. And like, okay, cool. And then gone. And I think just based on everything that we've communicated and her fear of commitment, that she was worried that if it got too serious, then it was going to end up with she moves in with me, and then all of a sudden I turn into a crazy person, and now she's stuck. Because her previous relationships had been bad. So I think there is that level of needing to communicate. I've also had relationships where I was a piggy bank. I've had a lot of relationships where I was a piggy bank. One of my more recent relationships was before my most recent ex. I told this woman, because of the previous relationships I had, that, hey, we reached a point where, like, I was kind of comfortable. Like, after we got to a point, I said, hey, I always say, like, I'm comfortable at this moving whatever pace you're at. But then I communicate, like, I'm comfortable taking to the next step if you're ready for that. So after a few months, or after however long it was, I say, hey, I'm comfortable with the concept of, yeah, because me and her lived about an hour away from each other. I'm comfortable with the concept of you moving in with me if you want to. No pressure. I'll just say my one rule is, if you move in with me, I need you to have your own job, be able to take care of yourself, pay your own bills, and like buy your own food and buy your own groceries and stuff, because I've had previous relationships before where I was just a piggy bank, and I felt uncomfortable in that relationship. I felt like I was being used, and I also felt uncomfortable leaving that relationship because that person was unable to take care of themselves, and I felt like if we broke up, I'd be putting them out on the street. So this is what I need from you for me to feel comfortable in the relationship, and that is that you be capable of taking care of yourself financially. And she said, yeah, that's fine. Like, I perfectly get it. A month or two later, she tells me we're visiting my parents. We're hanging out with my parents, and we're just kind of laying on the couch together. And she's like, hey, I think I want to move in with you. I said, okay, I'm cool with that. Like I said, though, I need to make sure that you have a job, because you're going to be moving about an hour away. So I need to make sure that you get a job. Like, within the first month or two, you get a job and, like, are capable of paying your own bills, because that's just what I need to be comfortable in this relationship. And she said, yeah, of course. Several months go by. She doesn't have a job. Is not even looking for a job. I'm doing school, and like I have a very limited amount of income, but I'm still paying for everything for her, and it's just a random day we're visiting. I'm thinking, because she has her driver's license, but she doesn't have a car, so I have to take her everywhere she wants to go. And I'm taking her to hang out with one of her friends, and her friend cancels on her last minute. And we're on the way back from like Norfolk, and I'm like, and she sees like a sushi place on the way back. She's like, hey, can we stop for sushi? I'm like, I don't really have any money. Do you have sushi money right now? Like, do you have McDonald's money? Do you have sushi money right now? And she's like, well, no, but like, can you pay for it? I was like, this is the end of the month. I have like $50 in my bank account, and I need that for gas. And she's like, oh, well, I just don't have any money. And I was like, yeah, about that. Have you been looking for a job? And she's like, well, no one's hiring. I'm like, have you put in any applications or looked for a job? She's like, well, no one's hiring right now. I was like, have you checked? She's like, well, no, but I just know no one's hiring right now. I was like, okay, we talked about this when you moved in. We talked about this before you moved in. I need you to be able to financially take care of yourself, and you're telling me that you have not even looked for a job. That is not fair to me. I need you to start looking for a job. And as long as if no one's hiring and you're putting in applications, no one's hiring, I'm fine with that. That's not something you can control. I'm okay with that. But I need you to at least be trying, because right now I feel like you are taking advantage of me financially, and that makes me uncomfortable. And she starts, getting mad at me and freaking out and crying. Well, I just don't think it's fair and blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying my best. She wasn't fucking trying. I'm trying my best. And I just feel like you're putting too much pressure on me. It's like, I don't care. I need you to put in this effort, because now I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. And this is something I communicated from the beginning. Within like a week, less than a week, she had a job. There were a lot of places near us that were hiring. I got her a job at my gym, basically. I talked to one of the managers and said, hey, are you guys hiring? They're like, yeah, we're really hiring. I was like, cool, can my girlfriend put in an application? She's like, yeah, we need people right now. So I got my girlfriend to put in an application, and one of the days I went to the gym, she came with me, talked to the manager. She had a job the next day. She had a job within a week. I got her that job. She found a job that was paying more a little bit later at Dairy Queen, and did not give them a 2 weeks notice. So I vouched for her to get this job. She didn't even bother to give them a 2 weeks notice. Just told them one day, "Hey, I'm starting at Dairy Queen tomorrow. I quit," which left them with down one person. She was the only female. I think they call them housekeeper there, that was allowed to clean the gyms, or allowed to clean the women's locker rooms for her shift. So she just left them without someone to do that job for her shift, and they had to work around a lot, and it really screwed them over because she found a better job. And then I was still constantly having to pay for everything. She covered no bills in the household, nothing, and was still constantly having me buy her groceries and stuff like that. And I should have said no. But I effectively fell into that same situation of, now I feel like I can't do this. I can't leave her if I wanted to, because she'll be unable to take care of herself, and I'll be putting her on the street. Because she was constantly calling up. She called off more days at Dairy Queen than she worked. And she left work early more days at Dairy Queen than she worked. And every time I brought up, at one point I sat her down and I told her, when we started dating, I actually started making significantly more money. But I am losing more money every month because I am having to take care of every single one of your financial needs, and you're constantly asking me to buy things for you and then guilt-tripping me when I don't buy them for you, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm actually losing more money every month since we started dating. I communicated that is something that bothers me. That is something that upsets me. That I need you to be able to take care of yourself and buy things for yourself. And I'm perfectly okay buying things for you sometimes, but it is so excessive. And every time I tell you no, you start guilt tripping me about it. And that is not okay. And she broke down crying and was like, it's not fair that you're blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying so hard. No, you're not. You are calling off work every day. You are getting mad at me when I tell you no. You are not trying. And if we want this relation to work out, I need these things to change. Now, this woman was the same woman that I'd gone away for a class for a weekend. And I had to put on my, Zach act of being outgoing and boisterous, because that's what everyone in that class saw me as, was outgoing and boisterous and happy, and keep making sure everyone's having a good time. So I had to put on that Zach act for an entire weekend where we were all staying in a tiny cabin together, and it was exhausting for me, and I was mentally drained, and I ended that weekend so fucking just drained and unhappy and just not okay. And on the way back, I texted her. It was a 2-hour drive. I texted her and was like, hey, I need some emotional support when I get back. I'm not okay, and I feel like I'm going to break down. I get back, and I sit on my couch, and I just start fucking crying, which is not something I did often. And before this moment, I had never cried in front of a partner of mine, because I always had that mentality of, I'm the man in this relationship. I have to be strong. If I'm crying, then if something comes up, they won't think I can take care of it, and I need to be strong. So I always had that mentality, but I was trying to open more doors. I was trying to be more open about things like that. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to go into a different room to do this. I don't have to like go for a drive to do this. I can cry in front of her because she's gonna care. She's my partner. Of course she's gonna care. So I just start breaking down crying, and she looks at me, gets up, and I had communicated with her. I'm gonna need emotional support. She looks at me, she gets up, she's on her video game, she looks at me, she gets up, walks over, gives me like a bro hug, like an arm over the shoulder hug, and then gets back up and goes to her game and does nothing. And I went from being like sad and like just overwhelmed and upset and kind of crying to just kind of indignantly angry about it. So I got up, I left, I went to the gym. And I have a policy in my relationships. I don't talk about issues when I'm angry if I can avoid it. I don't talk about issues when I'm angry if I can avoid it. I leave, I gather my thoughts, I think about what I did wrong, what they did wrong, how we could do better, and I find the best way to communicate that, and I come back and I wait several hours or I wait a day, and then I say, okay, we need to talk about this. So that's what I did. I waited a day and said, we need to talk about this. And when I try to talk to her about it and say, hey, this thing you did upset me. This is how I'd like you to handle it in the future. Like, I needed more than that. I needed you to check on me and ask if I was okay. I needed you to like at least ask what you could do. And there might be nothing that you can do, but I need you to at least demonstrate that you give a damn, because I felt so fucking used in that moment. And her response was basically, well, I don't know what you want me to do about it. I am who I am. There's nothing I can do about that. I was like, okay, cool, fine. So it was the same person that did that, and like I was just reaching the end of the point where like I could not be in this relationship anymore, but she was incapable of taking care of herself, so I felt like obligated to stay in it, because if I broke up with her and told her she can't live with me anymore, she was gonna have nowhere else to go. And then eventually, like, she goes to visit her family, and like ends up saying that she's breaking up with me. And I'm so taken aback by that I actually, and just because of the trauma I have in my own relationships, I start apologizing to her and saying, no, because I'm thinking I'm in this horrible relationship and whatnot, and then she breaks up with me. I'm like, wow, I must be such a piece of shit. If she's breaking up with me, I must have done so much worse, blah, blah, blah. And what it really was she found someone new to take care of her, and her family was going to let her live with them, and her uncle was going to let her live somewhere for free and wasn't expecting her to do anything. So now she didn't need me anymore. She found someone else that wasn't going to set standards for her, and yeah. So that was a whole different relationship. But to go on to a first date that I was on that was just... a first date that I went on that was just fucking ridiculous and insane. And I did not know how to handle it. I was 21. Yeah, I was 21. I was still young. I was still learning how to be in relationships and date. And I dated like 2 girls long term at this point. And me and my ex at the time had just broken up fairly recently, like a month or 2 before. And I get a date through Tinder. And I was still in the Navy, and this girl was also a Navy girl, so we planned to meet up and go on a date. And my go-to first date, if I don't know you well enough to plan something better, my go-to first date is like dinner and a movie, because we can go to dinner, we can, have fun, talk, and then see a movie. And worst case scenario, if the date doesn't go well, I can be like, well, I got dinner, or I didn't get dinner. I paid for dinner. I went to a nice dinner, and I saw a movie I wanted to see out of this. If I know you better, I try to plan a better date around like your interests. So I plan to take her to Cheesecake Factory and see a movie. I pick her up. She looks a lot different than her Tinder profile. It's clearly still the same person, but those photos were clearly older. And, I'm okay with that. I kind of have a problem with that online dating when you misrepresent your appearance, not because the appearance matters as much, but because if you're willing to misrepresent and lie about this in order to get the date, what are you going to be willing to misrepresent and lie about in order to keep the relationship or get in the relationship, So it's more about an honesty thing. But, you know what? She's cute, and whatever, the pictures were a little bit older. It's fine, whatever. We go on the date. I pick her up outside the barracks, and because I'm 21, she's like 20. She's still in the barracks. I'm not. we go to the Cheesecake Factory and we're kind of talking. The conversation's actually going kind of okay. So I'm kind of happy with this. We get into line to go get seated, and there's this couple in front of us that has a baby, a little baby, and she starts bawling. And I don't mean like, oh my God, it's such a cute baby. I mean, she seems sad. She seems upset about it. With just saying, oh my God, that baby's so cute. And like, but not in the, oh my God, it's so cute, I want to die kind of cute bawling. No, she seems genuinely upset about it. I'm like, hey, are you okay? She's like, it's just such a cute baby. I'm like, okay. I was like, and that stops. Eventually she stops crying. We get seated. We start talking. Like, and it's fine. Eventually we start talking and she's like, do you have any pets? I'm like, yeah, I have a dog. At the time, I just had my small dog, Dova. She's like, can I see a picture? And I show her a picture of Dova. And she starts doing that same cry of, oh my God, it's so cute, I can't handle it. I'm like, okay. And it's, again, she seems sad about it. She seems sad that my dog is so cute. And I'm 21. I don't know how to handle this emotionally. Maybe right now, like as an older man, I'd be able to handle that and be more consoling for it. But I had no idea how to handle this. It's like, okay, are you okay? Yeah, I'm just okay. It's like, okay. And eventually she calms down. You know, I'm driving her home, but like I'm kind of uncomfortable at this point because she is mentally unstable, not in like a she's crazy way, but in a way that I emotionally don't know how to handle and I don't have the capacity for. So like I have my roommate call me at the time and say, hey, you need to call me. I text him like, hey, you need to call me and give me an excuse out of this date. I don't care what it is. Give me an excuse out of this date. So he calls me and is like, hey, something happened or Dova is sick or whatever. I don't remember what it was he calls me and says, but like I put her on speakerphone like when I do this so that she can hear that this is happening. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like I gotta go. I gotta go take care of my dog, right? I gotta go do whatever. I don't know what the fuck it was. We can't go to the movie. I'm so sorry. And she's like, okay, I understand. So I'm driving her back to the barracks to drop her off. And she's like, hey, you never told me what your dog's name was. And at this point, I'm still kind of thinking maybe this was just a bad day for her. Maybe this was just a bad day for her. We can go on another date. I can give her a second chance. Everyone has bad days. But like right now, today, however it's going today, I don't have the emotional capacity to handle this. So she says, you never told me your dog's name. And I just kind of quirkily or whatever you want to say, cheekily say, oh, well, that's second date material. I think that's cute. I think that's a cute response. Paul, would you agree that that's... Oh, Paul's not in the chat anymore. But I think that's a cute response. Like, and it opens the door to a second date. She starts freaking out. Why won't you tell me your dog's name? Are you mad at me? Do you hate me? You won't tell me your dog's name? Blah, 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 blah. Freaking out. Like, oh shit! I was like, my dog's name's Dova. My dog's name's Dova. It's fine. Blah, blah. I just thought I was being cute. Blah blah. She's like, okay, and we get conversation returns to normal. And I drop her off, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Me personally, as a 21-year-old man, I am not emotionally mature enough to be with this woman. I don't know how to handle this. I'm uncomfortable. No. So she texts me the next day, and I generally pride myself on when I was online dating and when I was talking to people and I was dating before I got into like this relationship, I wouldn't ghost someone. Whether we had been on several dates, whether we had been on one date, whether we had just been talking through Tinder and I wasn't feeling the vibes, I wouldn't ghost someone. I would tell them, like, hey, I don't think we work. I'm okay with being friends, or sometimes I'd be like, I don't think we should be friends because I really think we don't work. It's not you, it's me, or whatever. I don't think we should proceed because ghosting sucks, and getting ghosted sucks because you never know what happened, you never know what you did wrong, and blah blah blah. And it's kind of, especially like online dating, when you just see that person unmatched with you, that's a kick in the teeth, and I don't want to do that to someone. So I kind of pride myself on, I would not ghost. I would always communicate. I am not interested. This is why. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think we mesh. It has nothing to do with you personally. It's just we don't mesh. I ghosted her. because she texted me the next morning, "Hey, friend," and I was like, I don't know how to talk to you about the fact that I don't think I'm emotionally mature and capable enough to be in a relationship with you without you having a breakdown that I don't know how to help you through. So I just kind of ghosted, and she texted me 2 or 3 more times, and I just kind of ignored it. The funny thing was, she was a corpsman, and she was a corpsman that worked at Portsmouth, the hospital that was my hospital. I was getting out medically, which means I had to go through a lot of appointments at Portsmouth to have stuff done and get tests done and blah, 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 and get my VA rating and et cetera, et cetera. So, like, a month or 2 later, I have one of those appointments, and I see her there, and I'm just like, oh shit, and I put my head down and try to like hope she doesn't see me and walk past her, and I don't know if she noticed me or not, because like her head kind of perked up, and it might have been one of those is that him kind of thing, but I just kind of walked real past and fucking went into the next or went to the bathroom or something. I don't fully remember. I was like, oh shit, I hope she doesn't recognize me. Yeah, that was just one of those dates that I was like, I'm not emotionally equipped to handle this. I'm not emotionally equipped, and and I also believe like there is a level of, if you are going to be in a relationship with someone, you need to accept the fact that they are not always going to be at their best. And as long as them not at their best is not awful, it's not them being a horrible, horrible person, there is a level of, if you want to be in a relationship with someone, you have to accept that they're not always going to be at their best. And if you can't do that, if you can't support them when they're not at their best, you need to leave that relationship, because that is not fair to them. That they are, especially if they're supporting you when you're not at your best, that is not fair to them, that you are expecting more out of the relationship than you are willing to give. At the same time, if you are not willing to give that effort, and you're not willing to give that amount of energy to it, or you're just not capable of doing it, you're not emotionally there, you don't have the emotional energy to do that, you don't have the capacity to do that, you don't owe anyone a relationship. So it's wouldn't be fair for them to expect you to continue to be in a relationship, to continue to go on dates with them, to continue to do whatever with them, if you find that very draining, if you don't have the emotional energy for that, because being with someone that's like that can be draining. Admittedly, like, it can be draining, and I know I've been in places where like I was just a downer, and I was just unhappy because my mental health wasn't there. And it wouldn't be fair for me to be like, yeah, I know that I'm bringing down the whole room and I'm exhausting your emotional capacity because I'm always down, but you have to stay with me because it would be mean for you to not. That's not fair to them. So I don't expect that out of anyone else. And that's kind of my mentality out of it. Like, if you're going to be in an interpersonal relationship of any sort, there's always going to be a give and take. And if you are not willing to reciprocate to the level that you expect from them, don't be in that relationship, because that's not fair to them. But you also don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe anyone anything. So if they're expecting a lot out of you, or they're just emotionally draining on you, don't let them guilt trip you into staying into it, because like, oh, it's not fair for you to break up with me, or it's not fair for you to stop being my friend, or it's not fair for you to not put up with me because I'm feeling bad. You don't owe them that. That's my mentality around that. That's the first time you heard something like what? And to be fair, yes, I do think that she was just going through a hard time. I think that that girl was just going through a hard time and didn't have a good handle on her emotions at the time. But I was not emotionally equipped to deal with it at the time. And this was our first date. I barely knew this girl. I was not emotionally equipped to deal with it at the time. I did not know how to cut things off with her without making things worse. I I did not know how to handle that, and I just like I just ghosted, and maybe now as an adult, like as an older adult, I could have handled that better, and I wish I had handled it a little bit better because yeah, that probably sucked for her, but like I did not know how to handle that, um, so I handled it admittedly poorly. Uh, it wasn't a great way to handle it, but I had no idea how to handle it. I don't think she might not have been totally mentally unstable. She might have been. She might have had some sort of mental condition that made her, kind of emotionally unstable. I don't know. She might have just been going through a hard time, but I was not equipped. I was not a person at the time that can handle it. I am now much more capable of handling situations like that. I have more experience with it. I know how to console people better when they're in hard times. It's just at the time I wasn't. And there's the thing too. I had a lot of people after that happened, and I kind of talked to some people about it because I had some friends that knew I was going on a date. And then I've told that story to friends in the future. I've had some of them be like, "Yeah, no, I totally get it," and I've had others be like, "Well, you owed her more of an explanation. You owed her this. You owed her that. You owed her a second chance. You owed her more dates. You should have done this. You should have gone on more dates with this woman and given her a better chance." It's like, no, I don't owe anyone my time. I don't owe anyone no one owes anyone their time, especially a stranger. I think when you're in an interpersonal relationship or a romantic relationship with someone, there is a bit of you kind of owe them your time if that's what you're also expecting from them. If you're taking their time and expecting them to be emotionally consoling of you and care about you emotionally and whatnot, but you're not willing to provide that, that's not fair. But this was a stranger. So I also did not like the fact that I knew people that were like making me feel guilty about, well, you should have given her a second chance. Why? I knew I wasn't emotionally capable of handling that. I knew I wasn't emotionally capable of handling someone that had that intensity of emotions at the time. Why do I owe them another chance when that's just going to put more drain on me, give them more hope that it might work out, and just put us both in a shitty situation where we're both wasting each other's time? That's not fair to either of us. I also, around the same time, it might have been before this or it might have been after this date, but it was around that same time, I went on one of the like most boring dates. I think you know what? I think it was after. I'm pretty sure it was after this time because by that I had established an escape text type of thing with one of my friends, where like if I texted them X, like if I just sent them a text that just had X, they would wait 5 or 10 minutes and call me with some emergency that they had that I needed to help them out with. So I went on a date with this girl. We met through Tinder, and she had said like she had just started her Tinder, and she was really pretty girl, seemed intelligent. She was going to school to get her like doctorate in psychology, or maybe she was getting a graduate degree in psychology. And I was like, she's really pretty. She seems like intelligent and interesting and whatnot. And I'd like to get to know her. So like we talked for like 2 days on Tinder, and then I was like, hey, weekend's coming up. Do you want to go to dinner and a movie? She's like, yeah, I'd love to go to dinner and a movie. It's like, cool. I pick her up. We decide to go to the movie first and then go to dinner. I pick her up. We go to the movie. We're going to see like Pitch Perfect 3 or something like that. I'm not sure. Was she the Pitch Perfect 3 one? I don't remember. But we're going to go see a movie. We're driving there, and I'm doing everything I can to try to start conversation with her. Like, hey, so blah, blah, nice to meet you finally in person. And yeah, so like, what do you do with your spare time? What are your hobbies? She's like, I don't really have any hobbies. I just go to school. I was like, okay, well, like if you weren't going to school, if you had more free time, what would you be doing? She's like, I don't know. I don't really have anything I'm super interested in. And just like every attempt for me to like drag conversation out of her was met with that. I don't know. I don't really do anything. From like the moment I picked her up, and maybe she just was like, she saw me and was like, oh, he's shorter than I thought he was, or something like that, and it was like, I'm not interested anymore, but didn't want to ditch. So we get through the movie, and I'm continuing to try to have conversation with her, and it's continuing to go nowhere, and I'm like, okay, we get out of the movie, and I text my buddy X. I say, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. I text my buddy X. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom too. I get out of the bathroom. A few minutes later, she gets out of the bathroom. And almost at the same time, like, I think I get the call from my buddy. And then while I'm on the call with my buddy, she gets a call and is like... And I tell her, I was like, hey, my buddy just got, it was my buddy, he needs me to come help him with something. I don't remember what it was, but he needs me to help him with something, so I gotta go. I'm so sorry, we can't go to dinner. She's like, oh, that's okay. My friend just called me too and says we gotta, like, she has, like, getting kicked out of her apartment or something, and I gotta go. It's like, that's cool, and it's like, okay, that's cool. And on the drive to drop her off, we have better conversation than we had during the entirety of the date on the trip to the movie theater, and like at the mall where we were going to see the movie, and then right after blah blah. We have so much better conversation, and as I'm getting closer to like her house or her apartment or whatever to drop her off, I'm just like, so. Nice escape text, huh? And she's like, oh, thank God you brought it up. Yeah. I was like, so no second date? She's like, yeah, no, I don't think any second date. I'm like, okay, cool. It was like, that was the most boring date I've ever been on. And we both ended up escape texting each other because she was clearly also really bored with that date, or maybe like just like, again, I'm 5'9", but I've been told by several people, like on dating profiles when I met them through dating, that like just because of my build and maybe the way I take my pictures, they think I'm gonna be taller. And maybe she's just saw me, realized I'm 5'9". She was wearing like boots with heels in them, but like so had an extra inch or two on her, so she was actually taller than me during the date. Maybe that was a cut for her, and she just didn't want to be rude and say no. But quite frankly, I would rather go to pick someone up for a date and then be like, yeah, no, I'm not attracted to you, never mind, and cancel the date, than me spend money on movie and a dinner for the date to just go poorly. And that's kind of how I've always been too. I would just prefer honesty, and I try to give honesty when I'm dating. Like, if I'm post breakup and I know I'm not ready for another relationship, I will put but I'm like kind of looking to fool around or hook up, I will put on my dating profile, listen, I am fresh out of a relationship. I'm not interested in anything more than a hookup or a friends with benefits. If that's not what you want, I fully respect that, but that is all I'm looking for right now. And if I'm looking for a relationship, I say I'm looking for something serious. I'm looking for a relationship. Yeah, and to that point too, Cleo, I fully understand why women need to kind of like play these games when it comes to rejecting men, and why they're going to go on the date and then ghost them later. It sucks. It sucks as a feeling, but I've also had a lot of friends who are women that have told me the horror stories about rejecting some dude either over Tinder or at a bar or something, and the guy just becomes a complete fucking maniac. Like, I fully understand why women feel compelled to like have that safety net of, okay, let's get through this date, let's go home, I'm just going to ghost him, or I'm going to try to not be interesting, I'm going to try to get him to lose interest, whatever. I fully get that. In a perfect world, that would not be necessary, but that is unfortunately the world that we live in, and it's a lot of times it is because guys are crazy. I've also had women be crazy when I've rejected them. I had a girl I was talking to through Tinder that like the conversation was just really, really boring. Like we matched with each other, and I kept the same thing to that one girl, but this was just entirely over Tinder. I kept trying to like talk to her, like, what are you into? What are you this? And I was getting like a lot of one-word responses and nothing responses. And ultimately, after like a few days of just like getting nothing responses, I messaged her. I was like, hey, I don't think this is going anywhere. I'm not feeling the spark. I'm not interested. It has nothing to do with you. I just don't think we mesh too well. And I don't want us to waste each other's time. I'm sorry. But I think I'm not interested. And then all of a sudden, I get paragraphs and paragraphs from her about what a piece of shit I am because it's not fair that I didn't give her a chance. And, you know, she's just been so busy lately. And, you know, it's not fair that I'm not giving her a chance to actually get to know her. And I'm rejecting her outright without us actually having ever gone on a date. And what a piece of shit you are. And blah, 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 blah. But the difference there is, as a man, the fear for me and a woman having a meltdown when I reject them is a lot different than the fear for a woman if a man has a meltdown for being rejected. And it's so I fully understand that. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish it was just more like I could go on, I can have women just tell me like, hey, I'm not interested, and not have to worry about how I'm going to react. But the truth of the matter is, well, I know I'm not someone that's going to have that reaction and freak out if I'm getting rejected like that. That woman that I'm going on a first date with, or I just met through Tinder, or I haven't had a long-standing friendship with, doesn't know me and doesn't know if that's how I'm going to react. Because a lot of these stories you hear from women about the dudes having meltdowns when they get rejected, the guy was charming, the guy was friendly, the guy was super nice the whole time something was going well with the relationship was going well, but then all of a sudden it wasn't. He becomes a fucking psychopath. So they don't know me well enough to know that that's not how I'm going to act. So of course they're going to do the thing that keeps them the most safe. Because unfortunately, the biggest threat for men, the biggest threat for men's life and safety, for a man's life and safety, is heart disease or cancer. The biggest threat for a woman's life and safety is a man that got rejected. And that's just the unfortunate truth. Even in cases I know where the man didn't get physical or violent or crazy like that, you'll hear all the stories about men, you know, sharing pictures, trying to ruin the woman's reputation, just becoming a massive piece of shit. And they might not be doing anything criminal, but they're still doing a lot of stuff that is just unfair for the woman to have to go through. True, I was friends with a chick that I stopped being friends with because she was one with the drama. Also, my husband's ex-girlfriend live melted down because he broke up with her. Yeah, no, like that is it, and it's the like men and women both have to deal with. And that's why, like, whenever I see those Facebook posts that are like, toxic men do this or toxic women do this, I'm like, no, it's not toxic men or women. It's toxic people do that. Toxic people do those things. Don't gender it. We both have to deal. Both genders are all spectrums of gender have to deal with crazy people in relationships. But because of the way society is, and because of the whole fact I'd rather be in the woods with a bear than a man thing, is a thing, women inherently have to feel more fear. And it's unfair, but that's going to flavor their reactions when rejecting someone or trying to get out of a relationship, because they don't know how that guy's going to act, especially if it's someone that they don't know well, or if it's someone they do know well and they know is volatile. So now they are afraid to leave the relationship because this person knows where they live and they know this and they know that, and they might get crazy. So women just have to deal with that more than men do, and that's not fair. So I don't blame them at all for those reactions. For that ghosting or whatnot. I will say there is, like, when it comes down to the I've talked about this before, when it comes down to like the thing in relationships, the only time I'm like a man has a right to feel kind of annoyed and upset, and not to get violent, not to react harshly. At a certain point, you just have to accept the L, man, and realize you were in a shitty situation. But at least a man has the right to feel upset that they got rejected, because 99% of the time you have no right to feel that you got rejected, feel upset that you got rejected, because that person does not owe you a fucking relationship. But one of the only times I think it's kind of okay for someone to feel, a man or a woman to feel upset and feel like it was unfair that they got rejected, or at least that the way it was handled was unfair, is if the other person is knowingly taking advantage of the fact that this person has an emotional connection to them, this person has feelings for them, and they are tricking them and goading them and manipulating them into believing that they have a chance, even though they know that it's not true, that they know that they're not going to give this person a chance because this person is buying things for them and doing things for them and taking care of them and providing them with stuff. So if you are like, that is a time when I feel like, yeah, that person actively is like, I'm just not ready for a relationship, but I would love to date you. I'm not ready for that. But yeah, keep buying me things, keep doing nice things for me. And they know that that's not true. They know that that's never going to be the case. They're never going to be in a relationship with that person, but they just want the benefits that they're getting. That is a time when you have I think the only time when you have a right to be upset. And you don't have a right to be upset that you were rejected. You have a right to be upset that you were manipulated. But also, part of it's on you because you chose to do that. And also, that does not justify you being a fucking insane person. That justifies you being, wow, she was a bitch, he was a douche, like, this is fucked up, I'm mad about this, but not you being a fucking crazy person about it, because ultimately, one, you did that to you, and two, you don't get the right to be like, oh, this person used me for money, I'm gonna hurt them. You don't have the right to do that. Go fuck yourself. So, no, like, that's the only time when I think you have a right to be upset, but that doesn't justify your actions. A lot of times. Using people as fucked, I can't stand it. I refuse to date anyone who doesn't have a car, job, and home. Yeah, it's like everyone has their own standards for a relationship. Everyone has their own boundaries. It is up to you to enforce those boundaries, but you can't enforce them by forcing people to do things. You enforce those boundaries by saying, I'm not going to be in a relationship where these boundaries are not being met, and then choosing to leave that relationship if those boundaries are not met. You don't get to be like, wow, you're a piece of shit for not meeting my boundaries. You better fix that. And try to compel and force that person to fix it. You have a conversation about your boundaries. If they're not meeting those boundaries, maybe have another conversation about like, hey, I need you to meet these boundaries. But in the end, your only fair recourse is to leave them. Not force them to do things that they don't want to do. Because then what you're saying when you're trying to force someone to do things that they don't want to do is that you don't even want to be with that person. You want to be with a different version of that person. You want to be with the version of that person that you can create. And getting into a relationship with the concept of I can change them to fit me more is not healthy and not fair to that person. So just get out of the fucking relationship or never enter the relationship. Don't get into a relationship with the concept of, oh, I can fix them. I can make them better. If they just change this, then I'll be happy in the relationship. And there's some level of being like, okay, you know what? You're never going to find a perfect relationship. There's always going to be things that, I don't like this, but, yeah. That's one thing. Getting into a relationship where, like, not everything is perfect because the person makes you happy and you're okay with that is fine. But then you don't get to be, like, after the fact, be like, you know what? I didn't like this when we got into the relationship, but I was willing to put up with it. And now I decided that this is a breaking point for me. No, decide that, but don't waste each other's time. And yes, you get to leave the relationship because you don't like this thing and you decide it's not fair, but you don't get to make them feel bad about it. You don't get to tell them how bad of a person they are because, hey, there's this thing that you were perfectly fine with before, but you decided you're not fine with now. No, just leave the fucking relationship. This was supposed to start as just like dating stories and funny dating stories or dating horror stories, and it turned into Zach's dating advice. Right? That's just kind of where it went. And, I'm okay with that, I guess. I do like here's another kind of dating thing that's happened to me a few times. That like I started realizing was happening because someone actually admitted that they were doing it, and I think is scummy as shit. I've had several times when I would schedule a date with a woman. I'd meet someone on Tinder or Bumble or Hinge or whatever app I was using at the time, and I would schedule a date. And then that date would get canceled last minute. okay, cool, shit happens, that's fine. And then we reschedule the date for like the next day or for a few days later. And then that date gets canceled last minute. And then we reschedule the date and that date gets canceled last minute. And usually like if the third time it gets canceled last minute, I'm like, I'm out, I'm not trying again. And I can never figure out why that was happening. I like after a while I thought, are these women just think it's funny to like waste my time? That's kind of upsetting. That's fucked up. Don't manipulate someone's emotions because you find it entertaining. Don't, either side of the house, man or woman, do not manipulate someone's emotions and play with their emotions because you think it's entertaining. Fuck you. You're a piece of shit. But there's this one girl that this happened with, and it actually happened in a different way. We went on a date, and on that first date, the date went well. The date went really, really well. We ended up, having adult time together and, texting constantly over the next few days, and we scheduled another date. And this date was at like 5 o'clock. Like, I was getting out of school, I think, and I was going to pick her up after school, like at college. I was going to pick her up after college, and she was getting off of work at a time, so I was going to come pick her up at this time. We're going to go do whatever the fuck it was we were going to do. And she cancels she doesn't even cancel the date last minute. She cancels the date after the fact. Like, I text her, I get out of class, and I text her, I was like, hey, just got out of class, I'm going to go get ready, just want to make sure that we're still on. Because I recognize shit can come up and things can happen, so I always do that. Like an hour or two before a date, when I'm about to start getting ready, I text them, like, hey, we still on, blah, 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 just to make sure. And give them the opportunity to cancel if they need to. And no reply. So I'm like, okay, maybe she's just getting ready, maybe she's still at work, whatever. And then I text her again after I'm ready, and about 30 minutes before I'm going to go pick her up, because she's about 15 minutes away. I said, hey, just double checking, are we still on? No response. I'm like, okay. She hasn't replied to me. I text her 15 minutes beforehand. Like, hey, I need to leave now if we're still on, so please let me know. Nothing. So I just assumed that we're not going on that date. But I'm also starting to get worried because we had been communicating and talking constantly since that first date. There was no issue, so I'm starting to get worried like something happened to her. Several hours later, she texts me. She's like, "Oh, sorry, something came up, and I just had to cancel I had to deal with that, and I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Okay, I fully understand. Like, it's fine, whatever. Like, would you like to reschedule?" She's like, "Yeah, let's reschedule for this time." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Same shit happens. Text her beforehand, no response. Text her like right before I'm supposed to be leaving, no response. A little bit later, she texts me like it says, "Hey, sorry, I have to cancel. Something came up." I'm like, "Okay, cool." She goes to. I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna go to bed because I'm kind of frustrated at this point. I'm gonna go to bed." And I didn't go to bed. I just went to the gym or I played video games or something. Like, I'm gonna go to bed, but I didn't want to talk to her because I was kind of annoyed because at this point I'm like, "Is this intentional?" And the next day she texts me, she's like, "Hey, I'm free tonight if you would like to hang out. If you'd like to go do something." And I say, "Sure, I'm free, but I'm gonna be honest, the fact that you've canceled 2 dates on me in a row after the fact kind of upsets me. Like the first time it seemed intentional. The first time it seemed like a total accident, but happening twice in a row seems intentional." And that's when and it's like, I'm gonna be honest, like if it happens again, like I'm just gonna give up because I don't want to be played with. And then she like says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. That's just the thing I do if I'm like interested in a guy. I cancel dates because I want to make sure that they're interested enough to like play through that. They're interested enough that they're going to keep trying and they're not just going to get bored of me if things go badly. So like it's just my way to make sure that they're serious about the relationship or about the whatever." And I say, honestly, that's really fucked up. When I plan a date, when I go on a date, I plan my day around that date. I schedule like I get reservations for if we want to go. I buy movie tickets if we're going to buy tickets. I spend money and time planning this all ahead of time, and then I plan my entire day around that date so I don't make other plans. That's what my day is about, is that date. And it's not fair for you to knowingly schedule a date and then cancel those dates after the fact or last minute because you want to make sure I'm serious about it. That's a major red flag for me. That's not fair to me, and that's emotionally manipulative. And she says, "Oh my God, I never thought about it that way. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, okay, I promise if we go on this date, I won't do that again. I won't pull that anything again. Like that. I realize now that that's unfair. Like, do you want to hang out today?" And I was like, "No, I don't." Honestly, knowing that that's something that you do is something that you go through your head and that you were perfectly okay with, and you didn't consider the ramifications of your actions on someone else's feelings, I'm not interested anymore. I'm sorry. I'm not interested. I don't think I want to be friends with you. I wish you the best of luck in your future with dating. And then I get, a line of text about what a piece of shit I am again, because it's not fair that you're not giving me a second chance. I did. I gave you 3 chances. First date went great. The other 2 dates you canceled because you were playing games with me. That's not fair. And I don't think it's fair for when someone feels like it's okay for them to emotionally manipulate you because they're gaining something out of it, emotionally manipulate you because they just want to test you. Like the moment I'm in a relationship with you and you start doing things to test me, I'm out. Don't play those games. Don't test me. That's immature. I'm too old for that shit. Don't fucking play those games with me. And it's not fair to like emotionally manipulate someone and play games with someone because you think it's funny. Because to you, it might just be a laugh or it might be a momentary thing. But for someone else, it can be emotionally damaging and draining and affect their ability to trust people in the future. Because if you're doing that to them, other people are probably doing that to them. And now they're just going to go into their future relationships with trust issues and with some sort of built-up trauma because you thought it was funny. You thought it was a laugh. You're a piece of shit. You're a shitty person. You do not deserve happiness. And generally, I don't wish ill will on people, but I do wish, like, comeuppance on people. I do wish people have to deal with some of the shit that they put people through so that they can grow empathy about it. So that, and there are people that they'll deal with the same shit that they put other people through, and they're narcissistic, and they'll never grow empathy about it. They'll just be like, "Well, this isn't fair to me. This is bullshit. Fuck you." But they'll never understand that this is the same shit that you're putting people through, or they'll justify the fact that they're putting people through it because of that. But a lot of people are going to see like, wow, this actually sucks. What I've been doing to people is awful. I shouldn't do it. So one, part of it's just that little bit of revenge of, I want you to deal with the same shit that you put me through because fuck you. A lot of it's really just, I want you to have to deal with this so you know how fucked up what you're doing is and you never do it to someone again because it's not fair. It's cruel. And I don't... It's one thing. It's one thing to be cruel to someone and to want bad things to happen to someone because they have done bad things to you and you know they are bad people and it's just revenge. And it's not mature, it's not healthy, but that's one thing. But to be cruel to someone that has done nothing to you, that you have no reason to justify your cruelty to, is not healthy and not fair and just fucked up because you think it's entertaining to be cruel to someone because you think it's entertaining and to emotionally manipulate someone because you think it's entertaining. That's not fair. And I've been seeing like a lot of videos because I watched some of Asmongold's stuff, particularly around the Pirate Software drama, the original Pirate Software drama. I watched a lot of Asmongold stuff because he was the video that I saw that kind of most covered it, like had the largest actual thing. He didn't seem to be showing only the parts that justified his thing. He showed the whole clip and all of that. So like I watched his stuff and then more of his stuff pops on my head, and since more of his stuff popped on my feed, more like shoe on heads and more like related people stuff popped on my feed. And I've been seeing like a lot of stuff. So I've been watching a lot more of that content because like even if it's someone I don't agree with and I don't agree with their perspective, and I'm not saying I disagree with or agree with Asmongold's perspective or Shoe on Head's perspective or anything. I'm not going to get into that. You can figure out what I believe by talking to me. But I've been watching a lot of stuff to see their perspective. I've been seeing a lot of like Shoe on Head's stuff that's about women loneliness and men loneliness and women dating and men dating. And I do agree with a lot of the stuff that she says about that because a lot of what it comes down to is both sides of the house of dating are being toxic to each other, and they're justifying their toxicity to each other because they've had people be toxic to them, but it's this cycle. And I actually commented on this on one of my most recent YouTube comments of why I'm not going to lash out at someone generally for saying a comment I don't like on YouTube, because all that does is, if I act like a dick, all that does is tell them, wow, people that think things like him are dicks, so I'm justified in being a dick to them. And that's what it is. It's this cycle of one person has a bad dating experience. They deal with a lot of bad dating experiences. Either they're a man dating a woman, or a woman dating a man, or a man dating men and women, or women dating men and women, or whatever permutation of it is. They have bad dating experiences. So then, like, say it's a man dating women, and that man dates a few women and has some bad dating experiences with them, and then decides, because of those bad dating experiences, that women are bad. So now he takes that and starts becoming kind of shitty to women, and like start using women because, well, women are using me, so I'm going to use them. So now those women are being used by this man. These women are being used by this man. So now they have bad dating experiences. So now they're like, say he's dated 5 women that he's just used. And now these women are all taking their bad dating experience and saying, well, men are trash. Well, now since they think men are trash, they're going to go on dates with men and use those men. And now those men are going to start, those 5 women date 5 men, and those 5 men are all being used, or those 25 men are all being used by these 5 women. So now they think women are bad. So they start saying, women are bad. I'm going to start. And it's this cyclical thing of no one wants to break the cycle. No one wants to not apply their preconceptions to the next relationship. And I get it. It's hard because I do the same thing where, like, I go into relationships with some of the baggage of my previous relationships. That's how it goes. But no one wants to break the cycle. So now it's just a whole large amount of men and women that think the other side sucks because of their bad experiences. And because they think the other side sucks because of their bad experiences, now they're pushing all of that onto each other, and it's just building this toxic environment of you see the men that are all like, oh, all women are garbage and they're just using men, and you see the women are all like, all men are trash and blah blah blah. But like, a lot of times inherently those people want to be in relationships. Those people want to be in relationships with those people, but they're sabotaging those relationships because of their preconceptions. And quite frankly, if I was going to date someone, if I was like talking to someone and getting to know them, and I saw, and I know, like, I try to be a good guy or whatever, and I'm not going to treat them like that guy did, hopefully, like, but then I start seeing a lot of posts from that person on like Facebook or social media or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever that are talking, all men are trash. I'm not going to date that woman, because I don't want to date someone that thinks that I'm a piece of shit because I'm my gender, and I'm going to have to like prove myself extra hard to them just to be with them. So I'm not going to date that person. So the only people that are going to date that person are the ones that don't give a shit about the fact that you're saying all men are trash or all women are trash. And those are the ones that don't give a shit because they don't value the relationship. They don't value your opinion. They don't care about what you think about them because they're using you. So now we're just going into this whole cycle of it. And like, it's where I agree with a lot of Shoe on Head stuff, because she talks about the men loneliness epidemic, and she talks about the women loneliness, and she talks about both sides. And I think a lot of times she talks about both sides fairly, because she's talking about it from like both perspectives of recognizing that it's not one side's fault, it's every side's fault. Like, we all suck. All of us suck. But not all of us actually suck. But everyone has had the experience. Every man has dated a woman, or not everyone, but for the most part, every man has dated a woman that has treated them poorly or used them, and every woman has dated a man that has treated them poorly and used them. And unfortunately, in a lot of the cases, the woman that's been treated poorly the effect has been a lot worse, but that's not always the case. And a lot of men get abused too, and a lot of men get taken advantage of and manipulated, and that affects them. And if we want to stop this from being the case, we have to break the cycle. Get therapy. Get therapy become a better person, work through your trauma, do your best to not place your trauma on your new partners, and just like work through it, you know? Go into your next relationship. If you're one of those people right now that is not in a relationship and you have trauma from your next relationship, one, try not from your past relationships, try not to get into a relationship until you have at least worked through and recognized some of that trauma, and then do your absolute best to not take that trauma into your next relationship. And if you are taking that trauma into your next relationship, recognize that you are taking that trauma into your next relationship. So the next time you think, oh, well, my boyfriend's probably cheating on me because my last boyfriend cheated on me, so of course, don't start accusing them from cheating. Recognize that the reason you're thinking that has nothing to do with your current partner. The reason you are feeling those things have nothing to do with your current partner. And if you're a man that's thinking, oh, well, my girlfriend's probably using me for money because my last girlfriend used me for money, recognize that it has nothing to do with your current girlfriend. And yes, well, you have that trauma and you have that baggage, and you should communicate early on that, hey, I'm working through this, that has nothing to do with your partner. So instead of actually putting it on your partner and treating your partner like they are they're going to treat you like your ex did, recognize that is stuff that you have to work through, and hopefully your partner is willing to work through it with you, but don't put that baggage on them, because that's not fair to them. That's going to put more baggage on them, and that's not going to get anyone anywhere. That's not healthy. That's not productive. Do I think therapists have therapists? I think therapists 100% have therapists. I'm willing to bet therapists go to therapy more than anyone else because they have to deal with everyone else's problems. But that's kind of like my thoughts on that, and like my thoughts on, I guess, on Shoehanhead's perspective too. If I think she gets a lot of shit, I think Shoehanhead gets a lot of shit for representing both sides of the argument, because when she talks about, and you see it in her reaction videos to people's comments and people's thoughts and stuff, when she puts a video out about men loneliness and how, yeah, there are shitty women out there that take advantage of men and want to see men fail. And if you are someone that wants to see men suffer and you want to be in a relationship with men too, you don't deserve that relationship. If you're someone that wants to see the other side suffer just because you've had bad experiences and you don't like them and you're not looking at it on an individual level, you're a bad person. Like, it's you see a lot of that with like people like, oh, this person has a different political belief than I do, and you know, some people in that political belief are bad, so all of them are bad, so fuck you. You are being a bigot. You are actively being a bigot because you're taking someone just at the value of a small thing, a group that they are a part of, and being like, oh, they're all bad because some of them are bad, and now you're treating them that way. You are a bigot. But like you'll see with like Shoehanhead, and like some of her videos where she'll do a video where she's talking about the men loneliness epidemic or the women loneliness or dating and whatnot. And she'll be doing the men loneliness epidemic from the perspective of trying to do it from the perspective of a man and the shit that men have to deal with. And then there'll be a bunch of women talking about, wow, you're a piece of shit because how dare you defend men? All men are bad and you're defending the men that aren't bad, but that means you're defending men that are bad, so fuck you, you're a bad person. And then she'll do one on like female loneliness and how some men are fucking crazy, and like if anyone who's like close enough friends with a woman, any man who's close enough friends with a woman, or any woman who's just had to deal with this, that is close enough friends with a woman to have them share some of like the shit they've gotten from dating and some of the random texts they got from guys while dating, understands that some men are trash, but also some women are trash. It's just like it's both sides. But yeah, you'll see her do a video about like the women dating problems and the shit that women have to go through, and then you'll have a whole bunch of dudes that are in there like, well, it's not all guys, and that's not fair, and they're judging me because of blah 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 blah. Bro, you're right, it's not all guys. But if you're the dude that freaks the fuck out because someone says, yeah, some guys do this, then you are probably one of the fucking guys that do it. So fuck you. You're a garbage person. Be better. Just be better. If you want people to not think of you like that, be better. Be better than what people are thinking of you as, and then like, if someone's not willing to accept you as anything other than your gender or whatever group you're a part of, then fuck them. They don't matter. Don't try to get with them because they're never going to thank you. Don't try to prove yourself. Also, don't get in a relationship where you expect the other person to constantly have to prove themselves because of your trauma and the shit that you've been through, because that's not fair. Don't force people to constantly have to prove themselves, because that's just going to become draining on the relationship, and that other person's going to get exhausted, and that other person's not going to be able to put up with it. And then you're going to be like, you're going to justify your own reaction, because after a while, they're going to get tired of having to prove themselves to you. And once they're not going so far and above and beyond to prove themselves, you're going to be like, oh, see, yeah, it was all fake. No, it wasn't fake. You just expected more than was fair. You expected more than you were willing to give. But there you go. That was my impromptu Zach's dating advice, I guess. I don't know how that happened. Zach's dating advice and Zach's opinion on Shoe on Head. Which ultimately I feel like Shoe on Head, like a lot of the hate I see for Shoe on Head comes down to, because ultimately my belief system is treat everyone fairly, treat everyone equally, don't expect more than you're willing to give. No one owes you anything, but that also doesn't mean that it's like, if you want to maintain a healthy relationship, you have to give nothing, because relationships have to be 50-50, and sometimes it's not going to be 50-50 because someone doesn't have the capacity. It's going to be 60-40, but ultimately it has to balance out to 50-50, and it's not fair if you're expecting 70% to be given to you and you're only going to give 30% all the time. And I feel like with a lot of YouTubers, and the one that just is popping into my head right now is just Shoe on Head, because a lot of her stuff has been on my feed, because apparently if you watch a few Asmongold things, YouTube's like, okay, you like Asmongold? That means you love fucking Shoe on Head. You're going to watch Shoe on, and then because I watch more of her stuff, more of her shit appears in my feed. But the thing I think a lot of YouTubers like that get, and a lot of hate any figure that talks publicly about issues get, is everyone wants everything to be so partisan and so, like, divided by groups that you can't say both sides are wrong. You can't say both sides are wrong or both sides are right or both sides have issues, because if you are not 100% that men suck, or 100% that women suck, or 100% that this political party sucks, or 100% that that political party sucks, if you are not 100% on one side and you are willing to look at things in a nuanced way and say, well, this sucks a little bit, but also this sucks, you are demonized by both sides. You can do no right. You are only doing wrong. And the moment you say opinion, like if you're one of the ones that say, well, yeah, sometimes dating sucks for men, and people are going to be like, oh, dating sucks for women too. And you're going to be like, okay, well, dating sucks for women too. Now you're going to get all the men that you just said dating sucks for men. They're going to be like, oh, you fucking changed, blah, blah, blah. You fucking changed. You blah, blah. No, it's like life is more nuanced than that. So I think a lot of figures that try to talk about things in a nuanced way and say, hey, it kind of sucks for everyone out here, get shit from everyone out there, because everyone wants to be like, even if they want to be like, yeah, it sucks for everyone, but it sucks for me more. It sucks for my group more. Maybe. But just because you're suffering more doesn't mean other people aren't suffering. So it's not like a fucking, like, it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like it all has to balance out. So if it sucks for me 70%, then it has to suck for it means it doesn't suck for them 30% because it has to, no, it sucks for everyone. And just because it might suck for someone a little bit less doesn't mean it doesn't also suck for them. And not being willing and able to understand that just means that you're going to make it worse all around. If you're going to look at everyone by their privilege and not by their suffering, but look at yourself only by your suffering, then you're never going to come to an understanding. And ultimately, that's what we need. Isn't one side to win and the other side to lose, or both sides or both sides to lose. We need both sides to win as much as possible. And the only way both sides can win as much as possible when it comes to things like this, when it comes to interpersonal issues, is if we come to an understanding. You know? And that's not to say that some people out there aren't shit, like total shitbags, total pieces of shit, and deserve nothing and don't deserve to win kind of thing, because there are some people out there that just need to not win. They don't deserve shit. They are garbage human beings. That is 100% true. But immediately assuming someone is because of your bad experiences with someone else, your past bad experiences, is not fair, and that just leads to more. Because ultimately, if you're the one that's acting like a piece of shit, like say you're part of Group A, and you're acting like a piece of shit to someone that's a part of Group B that has never had any experiences or that many experiences with Group A before, and you're acting like a piece of shit to them because people that were from Group B in the past have treated you like shit, then all that person from Group A is going to see is or Group B is going to see is that my sole experience with someone from Group A has been so negative. So incredibly negative. So Group A is probably full of shitty people. Now, hopefully, but I have no faith in this. Hopefully, the majority of people are going to be able to look at it and say, not everyone from Group A is represented by this person from Group A. But there are a lot of people, and it's just kind of human nature, and it's survival, and it's how we survived in the wild. Is we make these preconceptions based off our past experiences. So a lot of people from Group B, or that person from Group B, is more than likely to say Group A sucks because this person, the only experience I've had with someone from Group A has been negative. So we don't fix that by saying, well, Group B is being shitty to us, we got to be shitty to them too. We fix that by proving them wrong. We fix that by saying, just because I've had bad experiences with Group A does not mean I'm going to treat Group A badly. Just because I've had bad experience with Group B does not mean I'm going to treat Group B badly. Because I, at this moment, am representative of Group A. And if you can have people be like, wow, like in this dating situation, if you could have someone that's had a lot of bad dating experiences, and say it's a man dating a woman, and that woman has had a lot of bad dating experiences, and they mistrust men because of it, but they're attracted to the men, they want to be in a relationship, and you treat them well, and they're going to be like, wow, not all men suck. But if you decide you're going to use them and abuse them because, well, you've also had a lot of bad experiences with women and had a lot of bad relationships with women, then all you're doing is reinforcing this ongoing cyclical behavior that benefits no one and damages everyone. And that can be applied to basically every aspect of life. And I think that's what happens a lot on YouTube. And I've seen it on my own YouTube comments of people immediately getting aggro with me because I say something they disagree with. And they comment something like hateful or blah, blah, well, you're just a piece of shit and blah, blah. And sometimes I've responded poorly to it because I've just been in a bad mood. But a lot of times I try to respond rationally and calmly and say, listen, this is why I think this way, and blah, 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 and this is what it is, and, you know, I recognize that I might be wrong or I might be misunderstanding something, and have a calm, rational discussion with them. And a lot of times when I've done that, they have apologized and said, wow, I fully expected you to be more angry and more aggressive about this and be upset about it. And I was like, listen, and I'll respond to that, listen, there's nothing to be gained from there. All I'm doing is devalidating my point. I don't think it's productive, and a lot of times they don't realize at this moment I am talking about them. I'm talking about them when I say this. But I'll say I don't think it's productive to start a conversation angry and start a conversation aggressive, because all that's going to happen is you're going to devalidate my point, because now I'm getting aggro and aggressive with you, and it's just going to justify why you think I'm wrong and you're right without actually gaining anything from it. So I'm not going to respond aggressively, because what's to be gained from that? And a lot of times, like, wow, that's a really, I did not expect that from you. And I think a lot of times they don't realize I'm actually talking about them and trying to tell them, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't start these comments aggressively just because you assume that someone's gonna be aggressive to you, because it's not healthy. But yeah, I'm gonna end that there. I gotta go start getting ready for my Valentine's Day stuff with my lovely girlfriend. So I am gonna end that there. I guess I kind of got 2 videos out of this because I was not expecting this to turn into Zach's dating advice. I was expecting this to turn into, dating horror stories or funny dating stories and stuff like that. But here it goes. Here we are. Yeah. Bye, guys.